Comic Books and Books, going to be a quick section this week. We basically have a couple of updates from Mike Baron and Joe Hill. That's what we're looking at, so let's get into it. Hello, nerds, and welcome to this week's episode of The News as it pertains to comic books and books. No discussion of current storylines, story arcs, or any of those kind of details is going to happen here per se. I am, after all, a one-man organization and can't read every book that comes out and report on it and any of the news therein. But we can talk about new announcements and major changes as they pertain to any of the publishers that we follow, or just generally nerdy literary information in that sense. So let's get into all of that, shall we? And also, if you dig what's going on here, there is a much more up-to-date and possibly relevant, because it takes a second to get these sections posted up, so probably much more up-to-date version of the news in long form I like to call The Week in Nerddom over on the main channel, which you can find linked in the description as well as at the end of this video. That show covers many more points of interest in the nerd community, in the pop culture community at large, and so definitely go check that out. Now let's get into all of those literary notes, shall we? We have no follow-ups, we have no corrections, we have very little to talk about in comics this week. We do have regular ass news, and it's a couple of quick pieces. First two pieces are both Mike Baron books. Not because I have any sort of certain affinity for Mike Baron necessarily. I mean, he's a good writer, but he's just got two new books that are being crowdfunded right now, so let's talk about them. All right, nerds, we have a channel partner. It is Dubby. This is just a quick partner spot. Dubby, I consider myself a bit of an energy drink connoisseur, and Dubby does the thing. It is fairly low when compared to other energy drinks as far as caffeine content. Also no maltodextrin, just good things for your brain and stuff that legitimately does what every other energy drink claims to do, but doesn't necessarily pull off very well. Dubby does. So go follow the link in the description. You will get 10% off of your entire purchase at dubby.gg. You can use the code generally nerdy at checkout. If you don't want to click the link for whatever reason, you can still just use generally nerdy at checkout and you'll get your 10% off. Gives me a little bit of a kickback and you get some fantastic energy drink supplement things. I am super grateful to Dubby. I'm super grateful to you. Now let's get back to the show. The first one sounds like it's more of an original. Mike Baron is Calico. The other writer, because it's going to be a double issue, Kickstarter goes live November 12th. It's going to be a double issue. There's going to be a second writer on the project called H.H. German. Second writer is going to be writing the secondary plot for the book. I did not see who the artist was going to be, but looks like, I mean, just judging by the art, it looks like superhero a la Black Panther, but through the lens of Mike Baron's interesting interpretation of the world, which is honestly really good stuff. I've interviewed man a couple of times, and he's an incredibly eccentric dude, but in like so many of the best ways. He's a hell of a lot of fun to talk to, and a really good guy. The other Mike Baron book this week is a Sherlock Holmes book, which I'm kind of intrigued by. Sherlock Holmes Leviathan is the name of this book. It is currently, the crowdfunding is open. There's an Indiegogo, there's Kickstarter. Link down in the description is for the Indiegogo. It's going to, the crowdfunding ends January 3rd for this book. And the art is going to be from Richard Bonk, which the art has a really like extraordinary gentleman kind of feel to it. So yeah, it's really, really cool. Again, Mike Baron's a pretty good writer. Go check it out if you're interested. Maybe kick into the crowdfund and get your issues through the crowdfund. And then our other piece of news for this episode is Ushers is a new short story from Joe Hill. Just came out the 4th, so 2 days ago. And yeah, new Joe Hill short story. Just Joe Hill, like, go check it out. This is an actual book too, so like we're actually not just talking comic books this week, even though there's only 3 pieces to talk about. That's all we've got for regular ass news. Let's talk about your suggestion this week. Suggestion is, because the Penguin is doing so great over on Max, and if you're not watching it, you should be. There is a book that we should say, slightly informed the most recent episode of Penguin, and that is Penguin, Pain and Prejudice. Came out in 2011. Gregg Hurwitz is the writer. It is fairly well regarded as far as DC from around that time is concerned. And again, if you're really digging the Penguin right now, this is going to be the genesis for the most recent. Like, it's just, go check it out. There's, if I give you too much about it, I'm going to either spoil the book or the most recent episode of the show. So just go read it. That is your suggestion this week for comics. That brings us to the end of the video, nerds. Thank you very much for joining me for the news. Once again, there is a full and probably much more up-to-date and recent episode of the news, the full-length version, if you will, called The Week in Nerddom over on the main channel, linked down in the description, and probably link popping up somewhere around my face right about now. So click on that, go check that out as well, or if you prefer your news in more truncated pieces, then by all means just stick around here and go check out some of the other stuff we offer on this channel. Thank you very much for joining me. We will see you in the next one. Before we go, always remember, nerds, that if it is generally nerdy, it's probably here.